If you could change any choices you have ever made, would you? You can always make another choice and change the course of your success. Everyone has the potency to make inspired choices. Get ready to listen, share, and experience the creativity that is you. Now, here is the host of Inspired Choices radio show, Christine McIver.
Welcome, 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 my friends. Yes, it's me. It's me again, Christine McIver. Welcome to your Wednesday night checkup from the Neck Up Show, being brought to you by Inspired Choices Network. I'm so thrilled you're here. And apparently, I'm in a little bit of a fun mood. So get ready. Because oftentimes that comes with a little bit of mix of fire. And speaking of fire, that's what we're talking about tonight. The show tonight is about, do you only move when there is fire? Many of us do only move when there's fire. And what if you didn't have to wait for the fire to strike? How many of you out there are like, wait a second, I don't want to be burned, but you're actually burning yourself? Now, last week we were talking all about business as usual. And I just wonder how many of you people that are listening today actually heard the show. The show was, What's My Business? Why is my business not making money? And some of what we're going to be talking about tonight is actually going to relate to that question. So before we jump into tonight's show, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I am Christine McIver. I am a strategic and systems executive coach. I work with entrepreneurs who desire to really step out on the stage of their business and of their life and really create business from the space of pleasure and ease. And to me, when we have systems in place, it makes things so much easier, and it really does make things more pleasurable. So if you are an entrepreneur that's looking for support, you're looking to create in your business in a way that really does bring more revenue, brings more excitement, and brings a lot more pleasure, and you'd love some support on that, give me a call. You can email me, you can Facebook message, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, wherever you are at, you can absolutely reach out and contact me, and I would love to speak with you. You just never know what you're really missing until you start to work with a coach. When you're working with a coach who's been there and done that, they can make your life so much easier. A couple of weeks ago, I actually asked the question of a bunch of my friends, what's the one thing you would have done differently starting your business in hindsight? And most of the people said, I'd hire a professional to actually support me to get me there faster. So save yourself time, save yourself aggravation, and make more money faster by hiring a coach who knows how to get it done. You can contact me, Christine, at inspiredchoices.ca, and I'll answer all of your questions. And we can set up a time to connect at no charge at all. We're just going to see if there's a fit between what you're desiring and what I actually offer. All right, let's get into tonight's show. So as I said, tonight's show is, do you only move when there is a fire? Does fire scare you enough that you move? Have you ever thought about that? You get scared enough that you finally do something, that you finally take action. Do you require fire in order to take action? Do you run and take action only when there is a fire lit under you or lit under what's due, i.e., as in your business? Most people are programmed to stay in the comfort zone and enjoy their life. They actually don't move. They actually don't take drastic action until the last minute, the last hour, or like I said, when there's a fire that has to be put out. The comfort zone only changes when you're ready to put that fire out, and you must put it out. If you don't, the consequences far outweigh your desires. Far outweigh your desires. Most people, actually 80% of people, change when they are in pain. Only 20% of the time do any of us actually change out of pleasure or out of desire. So you want something, you just talk about you wanting it, but yet you don't move. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Most people, it's out of pain that they will actually move. When we are willing to take action to create a significant desire, we don't have to use fire only. It doesn't have to be an or else pressure system. Are you understanding that you actually have choice around the places and spaces where usually you're waiting for the fire and the pressure to show up? Your business and your bank account require your attention before the fire. Are you actually willing? And how are you going to react to your financial needs without the fire? So there's so much on this topic, and there's so many places and spaces we can go. Now, our logical mind says, of course, I want to take action, Christine. I don't want to be in these places where I feel like the pressure is so intense that if I don't do something, I'm going to completely fail, or I'm going to lose my house, or I'm not going to be able to feed my family, or I'm going to be in so much pain. Yes, the logical brain says that, but 99.9% of the time, that's not what we're doing. That's not where we are moving. And the reason that I say that number is so high is because we have been programmed to keep ourselves safe. We've been programmed to reach for comfort. We've been programmed to do what's easy and what gives us pleasure. What I'm going to invite you into is doing things so that you can have pleasure, that you can create your life and your business and your financial stability so that the fire is not the motivator, but your pleasure is. If you have questions, if you have comments, join us in the chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com, and I would love to answer your questions and really speak to what you are aware of and what you would like to share. Okay, so being lit, let me just say this out of the gate, being lit by the fire is not wrong. It's not wrong to actually take action when you are in fire. In fact, one of the big questions, as I've been really connecting with this show tonight, one of the big questions is, how much do we actually enjoy the fire? And like all weeks, whenever I'm preparing for my show, I have fabulous situations that occur that actually have me right in the middle of what I want to share with you. So of course, this week, and in fact, today, I had a number of things that came forward that my fire was lit. And while I'm doing all these things because I really needed to get them done on time, I'm watching myself and I'm being very aware at, wow, look at me move. Look at me making this a priority. Look at how much I'm actually getting done with the fire under me. So do you actually enjoy the fire? Do you enjoy the pressure? Do you actually move because you're comfortable in the fire when you have to get something done? And that's okay. Just the biggest thing about everything tonight that I really want you to get is acknowledge where it is that you really take action, and acknowledge that if you take action when there's fire, you enjoy the fire. So look at that. And if you enjoy the fire, I wonder how many other fires you can light so that you will actually create your bigger desires. Go 10% higher with your desires. If the fire actually contributes, then light it up, baby. Light it up. And that's what we're doing. You got to acknowledge that. It was so interesting to watch, to observe myself today with everything that was going on, and how much fun I was actually having with the fire. Now, there is a difference between the fire in your belly lighting you up and the fire under your ass burning you, right? There's a very big difference. So where is the fire? Where is the fire in you? Is it in your belly moving you? Or is it actually under you burning you? You got to look at that. And you got to be willing to actually acknowledge what's going on and what am I saying yes to, even unconsciously, what am I saying yes to? Most people will run from the fire first, and then they have to rebuild. It's the truth, right? They'll run from the fire. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then they come back and they regroup. That's what most people will do. But those of you out there who are in your own business, I want you to dive a little deeper and ask yourself, look at those times when the fire was under you. What did you choose? What are you choosing repeatedly? This requires you to be so vulnerable with yourself and so honest with yourself. And when you do this, then you get into that space of watching the landscape of what you're doing. And that's when you're really going to be in that space of choice. So remember that pressure actually creates change. So if you're desiring change, even if it's money change, if you're desiring change, does the pressure actually give you what it is that you're seeking? It's quite interesting. So we have a question or comments in the chat room. Our listener says, I move if the fire is from someone else. Wow, I love this. And I have an obligation to them to get something done. If it's a fire from my own deadline, then I let it pass. Oh my God, thank you so much for that comment. How true is that for most of us? Most people will be loyal to others well ahead of being loyal to themselves. They do not put their needs, their desires, their requirements ahead of others. This is something especially women are terrible at, or very good at, whichever perspective you're looking at it. We will oftentimes sacrifice, right? Are you sacrificing yourself? Are you sacrificing yourself so much that you will burn yourself in your desires, in your life, right? And this is something that, I mean, way before I ever started my own business, I remember hearing this. And I've been in my own business now going on 14 years, and this cannot be any more important than it is today. We need to. It's your responsibility to take care of your own self and to put yourself ahead of and make you a priority in your life and in your business. And if you do not do that, you're ripping yourself off and you're ripping everybody else off. And I'll tell you why. Because you came here for a purpose, my friends. You came here for a purpose. You came here to execute. You have something on your heart that you desire to serve to the world. And it might be to 2 people, it might be to 2 billion people. That does not matter. But you came here to serve. And that starts from what you are inspired to do. And remember, inspiration is all about the spirit that is within you. So what is in you that you are either ignoring or putting a fire under to move you? Are you ignoring what is in your heart? What is you are here to do and be? If you're not taking care of your body, if you're not taking care of your business, if you're not taking care of your bank account first, you cannot properly step up and serve anyone else in the world. And I don't mean serve as in be a servant to others. I mean really do what it is that you came here to do. You have to take care of yourself and you have to make you a priority. If you have children, you can't teach them to love themselves, to take care of themselves, to save money, to do any of that if they're watching you and you're not doing that. You can't teach other entrepreneurs to follow through on all of these tasks if you're not doing that. This is something that I really had to pay attention to, because I found myself in the exact same spot of really fulfilling other people's needs ahead of my own. And especially when it came to business, because I love working with entrepreneurs. So if I'm not doing it, if I'm not stepping up to the plate and following through on what I teach them, they're going to look at me, whether consciously or unconsciously, energetically, they're going to know that I'm full of shit, right? How many people out there are actually doing this and they're starving, or they're sad, or their bodies are in pain while they're trying to take care of everybody else? It's actually one of the biggest crazinesses that we create in our lives. And unfortunately, we oftentimes have to do that before we start to pay attention to our own needs, so that we can actually be of real service in the world. And being of service in the world means to be of service to yourself as well. All right. We are up for our first break of the show. I've got a lot more I want to talk to you about, so don't go away. If you are watching in Facebook, we are going to be continuing over at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Please join us there, join us in the chat room, and then you can join us in the live studio audience. Everyone stick around, because you know what? You deserve to have so much more and learn so much more about how the fire can be a resource for you. So you're listening to Inspired Choices with myself, Christine McIver, here on the Inspired Choices Network. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on our past experiences or what others believe. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire for our futures? When you join Inspired Choices Radio Show with Coach Christine McIver, you'll be provoked to look at what is true and what you know but may not choose that requires your attention. Christine does not hold back and brings all her expertise during each and every show. Are you ready to create the life and the living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Inspired Choices Show with Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@InspiredChoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Well, my friends, thank you so much for being here. If you've just joined tonight, we're talking about, do you only move when there is a fire? And during the first segment, we talked about how most people, that's what they do, is they only move when there is a fire, that most people run from the fire and then have to rebuild. As well, we talked about being loyal to yourself and actually putting yourself first, and how the fire oftentimes has to occur in order for you to do that. You do that to your bodies, we do that to our bank accounts, and we most certainly do that to our businesses. Let's change that, shall we? Let's start to create from the space of desire. Now, one of the big things about the fire and about desire is contrast. I want to talk to you about contrast, but I want to read a quote to you first that really spoke to me today. Contrast helps you identify desire. Desire begins to summon, and it's always flowing through you. Get that? Desire is always flowing through you. You have the opportunity of opening to the harmony of the vibration of your desire or not. As the desires are being summoned through you and you go with the flow, you thrive. But if you use things to be your excuse for not going with the flow, i.e., not taking care of yourself, putting other people's priorities first, you are arguing for your limitations. Oh my gosh, this is so good. We want you to learn how to go with the flow, which means nothing more than finding vibrational harmony with your own desires and letting the universal energy that you desire summon it into the flow through you. It is optimum creative experience. And that is from Esther Hicks and Abraham. So I'm sure you've heard of them before, but how delicious was that quote? How amazing that came through today. I'm talking about the universe lining things up for me to share this with you. It's so critical. The parts in there that are so important in my point of view is that you have the choice. You have the choice to allow it to flow, or you are arguing for your limitations. So that goes back to what I was saying in the first segment. You, my friends, you have the desires, but you're more interested in staying in your comfort zone, serving other people, or just ignoring your desires. How many of you out there actually ignore your desires, thinking that, that's too much to ask for in my life, or, I'm being selfish, or, that's not how my life usually goes. You talk yourself out of your desires. You have them. They're always coming through. And then you talk yourself out of them. I'm too busy. I've got too much to do. I can't possibly do that. Like, oh my gosh, that would require so much. I don't know how to do that. I don't want to look foolish and ask somebody for help. Wake up. You didn't come to this planet to be alone. There are people out there that would love to support you. I would love to support you if you're an entrepreneur and you're struggling. It lights up my world. I love doing what I do. I really, really do. I can't even imagine not doing it. There are many people in the world that are like that want to support you to move forward. But if you're making excuses and you're not showing up for you, then you are buying into, or as this quote said, arguing for your limitations. So how many of you are out there arguing for your limitations with all of the excuses? We have a comment in the chat room. I ignore them all the time. A way of ignoring them is saying, I do not have any desires. Oh my God. Thank you for being honest and vulnerable, because it's not true. The one thing you cannot stop, and you will always have the rest of your life, is desire. You may desire to go to the bathroom. You may desire to have water, like my throat wants me to have right now. You may desire to have food. You may desire to go for a walk. You have desires all the time, and you're willing to listen to some of them. But when they get a little out of your comfort zone, no, you say, no, I can't do that. That's too much. Most of us are doing that. Or we talk about our desires, but we got the energy of victim behind them, and we're not actually moving. And that's where the fire comes in. That's where the fire, we allow ourselves the fire so that we will actually shift and move. That's not required. But contrast, when the contrast comes up between what you are experiencing and what you would like to experience differently, that's where the key is. And that's where you going into observing yourself and watching what you're unhappy about. That's the gold nuggets that show you what you desire to have changed And then when you really are willing to look at how you're creating in your life or how you're not, that's where, again, you have that choice to operate from the fire in your belly or the fire under your butt. It's all about choice, my friends. So there are so many amazing things out there and that will support us. And one of the things that will support you to move, to create, to have more money in your bank account, to have more love in your life, to enjoy your days even more, is discipline. And our willpower supports us with discipline. But most people, here we are again, most people, willpower doesn't work by itself. It's just not that easy, because willpower requires you to be consistent and to discipline yourself and hold yourself accountable. And most of us, going back to that whole thing, how we will serve other people, most of us are terrible at holding ourselves accountable. We come up with excuse after excuse after excuse after reason. Oh, this is an important reason. I couldn't help it. This happened, that happened. Bull. If you are in the world and you're watching what is going on right now, taking action for the people that are in Ukraine, for instance, they don't have an opportunity for excuse. The fire is lit. The fire is very much lit. And I'm not saying that they didn't prepare and they didn't do all that they could to try to avoid this. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they are taking action and they're holding themselves accountable and they're not coming up with excuses. They are doing what is required right here, right now. Can you say the same about yourself? Can you say the same, that you are actually holding yourself accountable every day to take a step and to execute on the things that you say that you desire to have in your business, that you desire to have in your life? If you desire to have more love in your life, what are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? Are you making an effort to connect with people? Are you making an effort to become social? What are you doing about it? Do you have a plan of action? And that's the thing, that when you start to really take a full scope, accountability look at everything in your life that you desire to create and have, your business, your bank account, everything, are you sitting back and are you creating a plan? Or are you waiting for the fire? Now, again, the fire can be the fire in your belly if you're listening to it. If you are allowing the fire in your belly to move you, or if you are ignoring it. How many of you, just like the earlier person that commented in the chat room, how many of you are ignoring the fire, ignoring your desires, pushing them away because some belief system that you bought into perhaps said you don't deserve it, you're being selfish, you should put others ahead of yourself, you're not that smart. Whatever that programming is that's in your head that has possibly kept you more limited than you actually need to be, I've got something very cool I want to talk to you about after the break, because those limitations do not have to stay in place. Those limitations are things that you and I can change. And again, we can create and we can move forward and we can be in the flow of our desires and receive the beautiful bounty that's in the world. There is a lot of bounty in the world. There is a lot of bounty that you can have and receive, but you, my friends, are responsible for where you are today, and you're responsible to get you to those desires. But you got to be willing to, first of all, acknowledge where you're at, acknowledge your desires and dig for them. Mine for your desires every single day, right? Be looking for them. Be looking for the little things. Be looking for the big things that light you up. Do you know what it is that makes you happy? Do you know the things that would make you smile, that would make you feel joy today? Or are you just going along to get along, going along to get along, going along to get along? A lot of people in the world are doing that. And a lot of people are operating from anger, are operating from resentment, are operating from this space of push as opposed to receive. So when we get back after this break, I'm going to talk more about what one of the really cool things that I want to invite you into, really into your consciousness, so that that fire can move into your belly and create for you even more of your desires. So you're listening to Inspired Choices. I'm Christine McIver, your host here on the Inspired Choices Network. We'll be right back after this break. Stay tuned.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on our past experiences or what others believe. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire for our futures? When you join Inspired Choices radio show with Coach Christine McIver, you'll be provoked to look at what is true and what you know but may not choose that requires your attention. Christine does not hold back and brings all her expertise during each and every show. Are you ready to create the life and the living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices radio show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Inspired Choices Show with Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@InspiredChoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And if you're just joining tonight, we're talking about, do you actually only move when there is a fire? And many of us do only move when there's a fire. In the last segment, we talked about a lot of people operating from anger, from resentment, from the space of push as opposed to receiving. We also talked about if you're making excuses and not showing up for you, you're buying into arguing for your limitations. So the next thing that I really want to bring your attention to is that most people continue to choose lack, a real lack perspective, until they eventually find themselves where it seems like there are no more choices. Now, I want you to be honest with yourself. I want you to look at the times where you did something you didn't think you could do. You really were under pressure and you turned it around so amazingly, but you did it because you felt like you had no choice. How many times have you actually created from that space of, oh my God, if I don't do this, I'm out of choices? Well, if that works for you, cool. But if that's creating anxiety, if that is creating stress in your life and in your body, it's time to do something different. It's time to actually move into changing your behavior so that you can have both pleasure and your desires. And I want you to know this, that you're never going to have no choices. You always have choice. Doing absolutely nothing is a choice. I don't think it's always a smart one, but it is a choice. So here's what I want to talk to you about. This was very cool. That I was listening to a book, which I often do. I listen to books. And as I was driving, I was listening. I just love it. Again, when I plug my phone into my car, this is so much fun. I love technology, a little off the way, but I want to show you how the universe is always serving for us. Whatever we're desiring, it's serving to us. Are you paying attention though? So when I'm driving, I plug my phone in, so it's charging, and it oftentimes is, it picks up through my phone what's on my phone, and my phone randomly starts to play something from my music. Well, if I have my books in there, if I have some books in my music lineup, it starts to play them. Well, didn't it start to play one of my favorite books called The Divine Matrix? Now, who here knows The Divine Matrix with Greg Braden? Just an amazing, amazing man. But it opens up to this one chapter, which was bang on about today. And I absolutely had to prove it to share it with you. So what he started to speak about was how science has proven that one molecule change in our belief system forces a change in every other single cell in our bodies. Isn't that amazing? Like, think about that. Just one change changes everything. Science has actually proven this. And this is his quote. Imagine the possibilities if we discovered the power of change to change our lives and our world within the cells of our own bodies. Like, oh my gosh. So how many of us are willing to change our belief system, only one cell of our belief system? And if we're talking about this subject in particular tonight, about the fire, if we were to change our belief system around that limitation, how much would that actually change everything with our bodies and then in our lives? How freaking amazing is that? So if there's anything that I talked about when I was talking about the limitations earlier, that you were like, yeah, that's me. Yep, I've done it. Even if you're only admitting it to yourself, if you would be willing to start to change that perspective, imagine what can occur in your life, in your body, when we know that one molecule change in our belief system forces a change in all of our cells. Isn't that amazing? Oh, we've got a comment in the chat room. It is really proving it to me lately that my diet change, not related to business, but my desire for more and to do more in my life is growing each day, and how I have been feeling. That's fantastic. So she had a desire, she started to change it in her life, and now it's growing what she is desiring more and more. That's amazing. I really encourage you not to come from the place of beating yourself up, but when you're putting your desires first in your business, in your bank account, in your body, in your relationships, whatever it is, when you put the desires first and you keep your eye on those desires, that's where the change comes from. Now, I want to ask you this question. Do you, or are you, rescuing yourself? When you are operating from the fire, are you rescuing yourself? Or maybe are you waiting for someone to rescue you? Do you enjoy being rescued? Now, do you enjoy being rescued? This is what just popped in. Most of us will say, no, I don't like it when somebody helps me with that, or I want to be independent. People that are looking for support, maybe physical support, or they're looking for financial support, and people come along and they gift to them and they help them, and they again and again and again. They may not believe that they enjoy it, but if it's a pattern, how much do you actually enjoy being rescued? You have a pattern of being rescued. Therefore, you enjoy the rescuing, the being rescued, right? And do you enjoy actually looking at yourself and going, oh my God, like, look what I did. Like, you do something miraculous, right? You get lit by the fire and then you pull long hours, or you do something actually magnificent, and you create when beyond your normal capacity, and you go, oh my God, look what I did. Look at how amazing. Like, oh my gosh, I got all of this accomplished, or I created this amazingness in this short little window of time. Do you actually enjoy being able to say that? Being able to say, look at how amazing I was. Do you like that? If you like it, again, there's nothing wrong with it, but acknowledge that that pressure is providing something for you. So if you're saying, I hate it, if you honestly hate it, then you've got to be willing to take action to change it. Fire can occur in our business and in our bank accounts when we're not holding ourselves accountable. And that's the last section that I really want to talk about, is when we're allowing ourselves to be overwhelmed and buying into the I can't lie. That's where we're stopping ourselves. And that's the bigger lie, that you can't. And you can. Maybe you just don't have the knowing, or you don't have the tools. And that's where a coach can come in and really work with you and support you in whatever area it is that you're desiring to have change, that you're desiring to have more of your desires. And maybe you don't even know what your desires are, or maybe you don't realize that there are ways that your desires can be created, and oftentimes much more easily. We have another comment in the chat room. I actually do like helping or taking over tasks I do not wish to do. I do enjoy being rescued. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing that you can acknowledge that. Now, with that, I want you to really look at that and say, is this something that I desire to be changed? And if it's not, if you have greater desires you would like to have, and you enjoy being rescued, how can you create things so that you'll be rescued more and more? And are you willing to honestly look at that? That's the big piece, my friends. You've got to look at, where am I? And what am I choosing? And is this the way that I wish to continue? And if it's not, you've got to honestly see that the fire can be working for you or working against you. So the last section that I want to talk about is, I want to talk about the accountability piece. I want to talk about how you can start to change what's going on, so you don't have to operate from the fire that's burning you. You don't have to have your business nearly burn up, nearly completely collapse. You don't have to have your family, your relationships, your bank account nearly collapse before it starts to change in the direction of your desires. So accountability, what's required with accountability is a plan. And now I can feel people rolling their eyes when I say this, but a plan must be set into motion in order for you to be holding yourself accountable to execute. And if you have plans, you have to have deadlines on those plans. And as much as people absolutely hate those things, when we have deadlines, we actually step up and we really do execute on those plans. And we meet those deadlines. But like my fellow host today said, Bruce Cruikshank, he had this fabulous show today called Delicious Deadlines, rather. And it was such a fantastic show. I really encourage you to go listen to that. But the place of having deadlines and having that pressure, it actually moves us. It actually triggers something in our mind to begin to go. And so when you are putting your desires at the forefront and you're willing to make a real step-by-step plan to get you somewhere, it's amazing what you can actually accomplish. I remember the first home that I ever bought. I was a newly single mother. I had 2 children. I was working at a job that was, barely minimum, barely over minimum. And I desired so strongly, so incredibly strongly to have my own home. And so what I started to do was I had that target of that number that I required for that down payment. And I broke that down and I broke that down and I broke that down. I had a date when I wanted to be able to purchase. And so I took that deadline and I broke it down into daily amounts of what I needed to put in my bank account to have in my savings in order for me to get into that house by the time I wanted to be there. And, there were some days that all I had to put into that bank account was $5, but I did it. And the really cool thing is that the momentum of watching that money grow, it actually fueled me even more. And I started to create more opportunities to have more money in my life because that excitement of watching my target grow and grow and grow. It was such a motivation in my life. There was a fire burning inside of me. Do you acknowledge the fires that are burning inside of you? Or do you try to snuff them out and pay attention to other people? The fire in you is your desire, my friend. And the desire is what is on your heart. It's time for you to make a plan and hold yourself accountable to actually fulfill those desires. All right, we are up to our last break of the show. You are listening to Christine McIver on the Inspired Choices show on the Inspired Choices Network. And remember, you can reach out to me if you're listening to this after, or you would love to connect about changing things in your life and your business. Just email me, Christine, at inspiredchoices.ca. Stick around, everyone. We'll be back right after this commercial break.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on our past experiences or what others believe. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire for our futures? When you join Inspired Choices radio show with Coach Christine McIver, you'll be provoked to look at what is true and what you know but may not choose that requires your attention. Christine does not hold back and brings all her expertise during each and every show. Are you ready to create the life and the living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices radio show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Inspired Choices Show with Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine at InspiredChoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Here we are again, my friends. Nice seeing you today. If you're listening to us live, I'm thrilled that you chose to come and play. And if you're listening in the replay, Thank you for hitting that play button. You know what? I love to hear from all of my listeners. I love to learn about what's going on in their lives and in their businesses. And if I have something special for you, if you are someone who is looking to bring your voice to the world, you're looking to create more video content with ease, you're looking to have more play and possibly have your own show. Here at Inspired Choices Network, we have 5 options for you about our different show levels that you can choose from. And the very first one is something that's so exciting. It is a master class in how to create video and audio content with so many amazing tips. If you're interested in that, please go over to inspiredchoicesnetwork.com/choice, and you'll be given a lot of information. And yes, you'll be given choice as to what you would like to do and if you'd like to sign up and receive that class. And for the first 50 people that sign up for that class, and that class is no price at this point, it's $0 right now. So you definitely want to go grab that. For the first 50 people who sign up for that course, you're actually going to receive a free one-on-one session with me where we are going to dive in fast and we're going to start to see where you require support and how you can get there. All right, let's come back to tonight's show, and we've only got a few minutes left. So tonight we're talking all about, do you operate? Do you actually only move when there is fire? So if you're only moving when there is fire, you're not giving yourself choice and you're not planning. So planning is the key. If something is not going in the direction of where you would like your life to be, where you would like your bank account to be, where you would like everything in your life to be, you're not planning. Planning actually gets you on the path. You know, if you're driving somewhere, you want to have a map. Maybe you have a GPS system in your car, which I do. Maybe you're flying. You know that the pilots have maps on how they are. Map out your journey, map out where you want to go. Because when you have a map and you're following that map every single day, you're following that plan and holding yourself accountable, you're going to know when you need to reconfigure. You're going to know when you need extra support. You're going to know when you need to double down. You want to absolutely get to your desires, and that requires you to pay attention to your steps. Pay attention to what you're doing each day. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be a slave to all this, but when you have it laid out, it's so much easier to check in every day. Okay, where do I want to go? What are some of the steps that I need to take today to get to the next step and the next step, and so on and so forth. So it does require you to stop and slow down and really map out a plan and put a day-to-day action plan in place. When you do that, when you have structure around you, there's so much freedom. There's so much joy and pleasure. All of us need structure. All of us actually, we say, oh no, I just want to be like whatever. You know what? If you just want to go with the wind, that's where you're going to end up, wherever the wind takes you. But if you want to hit those desires and you want to have more ease and pleasure, put the structure in place, put the plan in place, and then work the plan. When you have that plan in place, you're going to start to hold yourself accountable. And those deadlines are going to actually put the urgency within your mind on what you need to do. The urgency is something that can be to your advantage for sure, but it doesn't have to be a fire unless that's actually the way that you love to operate. And if it is, no more whining and crying, no more playing the victim. That's the way you like to operate. And if it wasn't, you would change it. So I'm inviting you into changing it. What if tomorrow could be more pleasure because you have a plan? You have a plan for your life, for your joy, for your pleasure, for your bank account. Allow that fire to be the burn in your stomach, burning desires within your stomach, not the burn underneath you that keeps you short every month financially or keeps you wishing for something else, but you're not taking action. All right, my friends, until we see you next week, I want you to remember you will always have another choice. Bye for now.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Inspired Choices Radio Show. Christine McIver will return next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, be willing to choose what you really desire. This is your life, making the choices that bring you all that you desire.